It put me laughing. What's up, TIW Mafia? JP here. And I'm here with this bad motherfucker. He just told me he was going to try not to cuss, so I'm just going to break the fucking... I'm going to, take it right off. But Sinn, for those who don't know, had a WWE run as Kizarney back in the day on SmackDown. But Sinn's been wrestling. He came up in Canada with Edge and Christian and a lot of those guys. And now he's doing this thing down in over in Vegas, the city of Sinn. And he's got Freak Show Wrestling. He's got a couple of other things that I'm going to want to get into later on. Sinn, how are you today?
I'm good, man. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Anytime, man. Anytime. We had you. I mean, we were doing this for a long time. We had you back around the SmackDown time, actually.
Yep.
So we're not even going to really touch on that too much tonight, I think, because we've talked about that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I want to talk about Sinn.
I do a lot of interviews, and no disrespect to guys that get me on a podcast or ask me to do like an interview for type, like, whether it's for like a website or something. And then they ask me about some of those same things. And it's kind of like Groundhog Day. I'm like, you can ask me other stuff too. Like, I mean, I'm happy to answer it, but I've answered it 1,000 times. So we could talk about stuff that's going on today or this week or this year or what have you. Like, I'm down to do it easy, but I just always giggle when they ask me these questions. I'm like, you never heard me on another 1,000 podcast or any other wrestler. Like, it's like knowing Bruce Wayne's parents got jobbed in the alley. Like, everybody knows it. It's part of the. Let's just move on. Let's go to the next.
Right. You can't. Right. You don't want to touch on that. You don't want them to talk about that in every comic.
Yeah. It's unnecessary. But I mean, I'm happy to do it, but we could talk about other newer stuff. So that way people would refer me on something else or any other wrestler. They're like, oh, well, I heard that. Well, what else have they got going on?
The one part of it I will talk about is just because that came from somewhere very inside of you. Like, you were a freak show at that point, right?
Sure. Like, I joke with a lot of guys when we're helping them kind of figure out character and this and that. Like, being something true to yourself is the best bet. I wasn't just some a-hole that went to the mall and got his face painted and said, haha, I'm a wrestler. I'm a legit circus, sideshow strongman, circus strongman, sideshow freak, all that kind of stuff. Like, I can do all sorts of crazy pain tolerance things, and from the electric chair to human dartboard, all this just crazy stuff. But that was me. That is me. So whether I'm all dolled up in clown paint and bunnies and duckies on my boots and bloody butcher's aprons, or if I'm just sitting here in my collar and elbows t-shirt, thank you, Snow. It's me. Again, Bruce Wayne can kick some ass. He just looks all fancied up and scarier to the villains when he's in his cowl. So clothes don't make the man, but it is ketchup on the burger, so just makes you a little extra fancy in presentation. But
now, I know you got Freak Show Wrestling where you incorporate some of that. Do you do any of the sideshow stuff outside of wrestling?
So I was a legit sideshow strongman guy on various shows for years and years. Worked at the biggest companies in the world for that. Like, I worked for the Vince McMahon of sideshow, who is Jim Rose, so the Jim Rose Circus. Okay. Guys like that. I think actually the biggest crowd I ever performed in front of, not a wrestling crowd, it was for the Jim Rose Circus. We were opening for Guns N' Roses and Sturgis years and years ago. And I mean, the noise from that crowd, I want to say there was about 100,000 unruly bikers screaming and chanting, and it was so loud you could feel the sound bouncing off of your skin. It's unreal.
Did you have to play extra long? Did you have to go on extra long because Axel was late?
Oh, you did it on the head. So, we did like a 5-day run where every day we opened for in between different bands. So there'd be like us, a band, us, a band, us, a band times 5 days. So smaller bands, medium bands, bigger bands. And so the main event, throughout the Monday through Friday was Alice in Chains and so forth. What was the other one? I get dropped in my head for a living, so I'm trying to remember some of these bands. Yeah, a lot like these big, huge bands. Godsmack, but actually, like Guns N' Roses was the Friday night band, the biggest, like the big blow off thing. And so the Guns N' Roses guys, which were mostly more of his newer guys at the time, they're all kind of sitting around all day with the rest of us, and Axel was nowhere to be found. And then he's supposed to go on at midnight, and so we close out our set and we go a little long, because they're asking us, hey, can you kind of like... Yeah,
you're seeing the stretch it out in the back.
He's like, Axel's on his way, but we don't know how long he is. So it's like He's supposed to go on at midnight. And at about 1 a.m., just as all these bikers are about to lose their minds and just burn everything down, all of a sudden a helicopter comes in, absolutely jumps out, like no mic check, no nothing, just jumps out of this helicopter, grabs a microphone, hauls ass onto the stage, comes flying out, opens it up, and then boom, and everybody was happy as a pig's in caca. So
he did a show here, I want to say in the 90s, probably mid 90s, where he wouldn't go on until the Raiders game was over.
Oh, there you go.
And you want to see a Boston crowd get upset?
Sure.
Now you're doing the freak show wrestling. You still take bookings outside though too, right?
Yeah, so I actually focus more on individual bookings these days. Freak show is definitely like my baby, but it was a creature of love, and it was very expensive to do. And it's not like just, all these wrestlers show up and then it's like, okay, this is a good guy, this is a bad guy, give me 10 minutes, blah. It was always like, okay, you're going to be the monkey, you're going to be the banana, you're going to be the robot, you're going to be the vampire. And we'd have to bring all these costumes, make makeup, wardrobe, and I would have to basically produce an agent and do everything. So whoever I was wrestling with, I would just see him in the ring because I was just too busy wearing 20 other hats. So it was exhausting to me. It was exhausting to my wife. And then again, I love the performers, and some were great, and then some were just hands out, like, hey, even though you wrote this character for me, that's way better than anything I came up with myself, and you're the guy behind the curtain, I'm getting all the acclaim for it. What else can you do for me? And so I thought, instead of babysitting, 40 or 50 performers on a night, I could just babysit myself and travel out and about and enjoy that and just go wrestle and do what I was put on the planet to do. So, I am free show wrestling. When you book me on a show, you're going to get a version of it depending on sort of what the situation is, what kind of show is it? Is it a PG show, a family show, some kind of hipster 21 plus drinking crowd show? Do you want me to, go gimmick heavy? Do you want me to go, zero props or whatever you want, weapons, whatever you want to call it, whether you want me to do a hardcore show or a sports entertainment show or whatever, lucha show, so I switch all those gears, and it's me, just different gears of me. But like this past weekend, I wrestled in Green Bay on a Friday night against a local kid, super good, really. Everybody watch out for this kid. He's really good. Little high flying dude, crazy character. Like, again, very similar to me, but different. His name is Skits. Really good kid. Skylar Joy. Well, that's a shoot name, Skylar Joy. What a wrestling name if I ever heard.
Right.
And so we went weapons heavy on that, and like I dragged him. I literally grabbed him by an ankle and by a wrist and just dragged him around in thumbtacks, and threw him off of this, and he did terrible things to me. I did terrible things to him, and everybody loved it.
And you hugged at the end of it, right?
Yeah, so that was in Green Bay, and then the next night in just outside of Minneapolis, I'm wrestling Hernandez from Impact.
Oh, no.
So we have a very different match, but again, the promoter, and it's very PG, family oriented, but the promoter wanted some of the shenanigans. So I just put together some stuff that I figured, I would be amused by, and Hernandez would not mind doing, and all this. So, I think he had a harder time biting his lip not to giggle through the match. It's really more than anything.
I was going to say, I could see that being where if you weren't the veteran that you are, that's not an idea you would be pitching to Hernandez.
Right. I mean, I'm literally, trying to stick a banana in his face or, whatever. I squirted him with Windex and you name it, all sorts of dumb stuff,
No, you had a run with Chikara, and your character, while it's very Chikara-like, is also not very Chikara-like of what Chikara was at that point. Like, you're very character-driven, but not very, like, they're almost G-rated.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I remember I think I said the word bitch at some point. Like, I don't remember. And they started chanting, like, watch your language, which amused the heck out of me.
Yep.
I'm like, sorry. All right. And, I'm trying to play with the audience. And it was a fun crowd. It was good. Always a good time. I have nothing but fun memories of Chikara.
What I always appreciated about Chikara was the audience was very much in on the joke.
Sure. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
The slow it down chants, and they wouldn't chant, you fucked up, it was you messed up, or,
And they knew to play by those rules. They knew it was you'd be tearing the fabric of time if you swore there or you did something like that.
Yeah, which is very not a Philadelphia, not what you think of when you think of a Philadelphia wrestling company.
Sure. remember doing one of those shows, and we were at the ECW arena, and still, I mean, they steadfast to those uber PG rules, which amused the heck out of me.
Yeah, that's. Meanwhile, you got like Balls Mahoney banners hanging up in the rafters.
Right.
Now, we get a couple of people have commented on some of, like, this video is live on YouTube, Facebook, and all of that stuff, and we had a couple of people commenting with questions, and Joe Salenza wants to know, what was the highlight of your career?
Oh, boy. Well, I'll pick little snippets of a few things because that's just such a wide open thing, but I'd say, you know, one of the things is becoming best pals with my idol, who ended up being my opponent, who ended up being my coach, who ended up being, you know, one of my best buds. The brother I never had was Jake the Snake Roberts. So just having Jake in my life is to this day still surreal. I mean, we just joke and goof off, and he's Uncle Ori to me. But I mean, you know, when I was a kid, I was literally sitting on the couch with Edge and Christian as kids, watching Jake DDT Steamboat on the concrete.
Yeah,
thinking like Edge and Christian were beside themselves, and I just remember thinking I want to be the guy doing the DDT, not getting the DDT, and I was hooked ever since. And then growing up, so you know, I meet him, I wrestle him, we end up buddying up. I travel with him. He became my mentor, my coach, and everything. Now we're just as, you know, as tight as close to me as anybody in my family. So that's pretty awesome.
That's real. Like back, and I brought this up, like how we had you on before. You at that point there, you were very excited because you were about to start being his bump guy during his training. During a couple of his, you were about to go be the bump guy in some of his seminars.
Yeah, so we would do, like, we have a school together. You know, I would do seminars with him, and it was funny. We did this big seminar at the Cauliflower Alley Club, which for those who knew, who don't know, that's like a yearly like a wrestling convention where it used to be closed doors, where it used to be like just for the wrestlers, not for fans, and then they opened it up and let everybody come in. And so we did a seminar together. And at that stage of the game, I want to say that, you know, as amazing as he is, I don't know that he really spent time coaching per se. Like, he would mentor. Like, I mean, he obviously gave DDP the right stuff, Stone Cold the right stuff, Undertaker the right stuff. But as far as being at the school, like just having like a lecture, teaching a wrestling seminar or what have you. And they booked us together to do that seminar. And Jake just started out by going, "You start." And so I start talking, and then I look at him like, you know, "You want to jump in on this?" And he'd go, "Yeah, keep going." You know, and I'm trying to tag out to Jake because, yes, I know my stuff, but at the same time, I'm smart enough and humble enough to appreciate he's Jake the Snake and I'm not. So people want to hear what he's got to say. So he would literally end up doing these things where I would talk for like 5 minutes, and he would go, "Yep, what the clown said." You know, "Oh, yep, what he said." You know, and then, you know, then eventually he kind of got cozier and jumped in, and we went back and forth, and it was really fun. And I remember I had so many people come up to us afterwards and give us compliments, and The Rock's mom came over and quote unquote said, "Boys, that was fucking awesome."
That's awesome.
And Jake just looked at me like a little kid. He's like, "That was awesome. That's The Rock's mom." You know,
Right. That's one of those things where you get goosebumps.
Yeah, we're both little kids, you know. And so for her to come over and drop that on us, you know, I mean, that lineage goes without saying, you know. And so that was really neat. And then, you know, now we opened up the Snake Pit and did a lot of coaching with that stuff. But yeah, I think doing those seminars was really great for both of us because I think it gave knowledge back to the industry. And then it was fun for us. Like, it was cool to give back. So hopefully it was useful to who was listening, and it was fun for us to let it.
Now, is the Snake Pit Wrestling Academy, is that a traditional school? I want to word this right. Is that like a normal school where it's open weekly, or is that just seminars?
Yeah. So I used to coach when I first moved to Las Vegas. I coached for Future Stars of Wrestling, FSW.
Yeah.
And then Jake and myself and D'Lo Brown decided to branch off and do our own school. So we did our own school, Snake Pit. And then we just felt it to be an inevitability that we should all sort of, you know, work together. And I think it's hard enough to be a success when you're working together, let alone when you're fighting for scraps. So Snake Pit and FSW kind of got into bed together. So they had Kenny King and Disco Inferno teaching, and we had myself and Jake the Snake and D'Lo Brown teaching. So now all of a sudden you've got a school of these 5 guys.
Right, that are all incredible.
Yeah, not to mention other very regular drop-ins like Kikutaro, TJP, Davari. And then on top of that, then we have a lot of seminar guys coming in. So we would bring in different, everybody from Matt Hardy to Hurricane to Gangrel to Al Snow to Jimmy Hart to Ricky Steamboat. List goes on and on. So it was pretty damn one-stop shopping, if I do say so myself. I would have given my right leg for that when I was starting.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, with Jake, I don't think there's ever been a. I don't think there's ever been a guy who wasn't supposed to make it, who made it as far as he did and did everything he did in this business.
Sure.
And I say wasn't supposed to make it with the utmost respect.
I understand
what you mean. The world was against him.
Sure, yeah. Join the freaking club. So
the
whole, when the going get tough, the tough get going.
Exactly.
I'm such an artsy-fartsy guy. I preface so many things, and I learn, and I'm inspired by so many things. And it could be silly things or important things or whatever. But when you stumble over something, and it just speaks to you, no matter how cheesy or cool or this or that it is, whether it's something in a song, a movie, a poem, a comic book, video game, whatever, wherever you draw influence from. And I remember I joke with my kids all the time, and I tell them, I reference my favorite wrestling match all the time as I explain metaphors and psychology. And my favorite wrestling match of all time is Star Wars. So I'll always explain, I'll break it down. Luke needs Darth, Darth needs Luke. Luke is the underneath babyface. He's kind of the cosmic Ricky Morton. He's fighting uphill battle only to get to this main event villain who's destroying planets just for shits and giggles. So all these things. So one of the things that really spoke to me, not Star Wars related, I consider awesome cheese was Young Guns. I think the Young Guns mantra of Billy the Kid saying, "I shall finish the game," always kind of spoke to me of and Jake had that really to me. It's just like when you stare across from your opponent, the fans don't know what you have in store. And so whatever you're going to deliver with your opponent, your dance partner, whatever you want to call them, I think if you're not buying it, the fans aren't buying it. So if you don't put that devil in the details and really bring it to life, the fans aren't going to buy it. Now, you could take something so dangerous and so brutal and you could throw it away, and then the fans will throw it away. Like, for instance, a Canadian Destroyer to me is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And now a lot of wrestlers just turn that into yet another move. Like, guys are jumping up, running around 2 seconds afterward. So all that tells the audience, all that educates the audience into just saying, no big deal. But if you sell a punch like it's bloody murder, which you should in real life, that punch is way meaner than any hurricane or power bomb or whatever. Like that punch in real life, that's the deal breaker. That's the peacekeeper. But guys hit each other 10 little whiffy times and then whip each other out on the ropes. See my chicken over there, he agrees. Got a house chicken in here with me, just if you hear a cockadoodle doing it. It's not Jake making funny noise. It's actually a chicken. So.
That is tremendous.
It's how you. I know exactly, Snoots. It's how you put over things. Is how they're going to perceive things. So if you make it important, fans will take it as important. If you throw it away, the fans.
Well, it drove me nuts as a fan, and I think it kind of started. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, because you might have seen it way before I did. But that kind of started with the super kicks.
Well, yeah. I mean, when Shawn Michaels did it, it was very new. It was exciting. And then when guys, whether it's a super kick or anything, if you take something awesome and overcook it and overuse it to all ends, that awesomeness becomes mundane. And who needs typical? You want special.
You didn't kick out of the P.D. Williams Canadian Destroyer. You didn't kick out of Shawn Michaels super kick. Something might have happened to stop the count, but you didn't kick out of that.
Yes, sir. Exactly. And I think the only person I've ever taken a Canadian Destroyer from was P.D. Williams. So there you go.
Now I'm looking at my childhood behind your head.
What's that?
But I'm looking at variations of my childhood right behind your head.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
But they're different than what I grew up with.
Well, so again, I'm an artsy-fartsy guy, and I dabbled in customizing some of these old school toys. Like I think the new articulated action figures they're nice, they're cool, but it's just not my wheelhouse. Whereas those 1980s LJNs, which you see behind me, well, you see I'm just trying to whatever on this side of me.
Yeah.
Those are from the 80s. That's my childhood. That's nostalgia. And so I dabbled in customizing them and kind of refurbishing them years ago. And then I left it be for years. And then when all the pandemic hit, I know, Snoots, I know. My chicken is very, very unruly today.
That's all right.
During the pandemic, I just sort of, just to kind of kill time and take my mind off of the planet, started doing that again. And then that hobby kind of turned into a side hustle. And since I couldn't wrestle for a lot of the pandemic, not that I wouldn't want to, I was ready to go. Any promoter that was going to book me, I was down to feed my family, but shows were few and far between, and for a while non-existent. So that hobby turned into a side hustle, and I could sell some of those. I'd have fun making them, and then sell them, make a few bucks so I could feed my family, and that's how all those guys behind me came to be.
That is like, I grew up. I'm the same way. I'm 47. I grew up on the LJNs. I don't have any now. I have a couple inbox elites, the recent ones, but I have the Paul Orndorffs, the Jakes. You know what I mean? I don't have the new guys that are out there.
I used to tease Jake, like Jake's. I don't know where is the original. So he's up there somewhere. I'm not going to jump off the camera to grab, but the original Jake has his hands kind of up in this weird don't shoot kind of position. And I would tease him. I said, "What marketing genius thought of this pose? Like, how are you supposed to DDT anybody with your arms up in the air?" And he's like, "Brother, I didn't make that freaking decision, brother.
Nobody did, apparently.
Right.
Did you watch the Netflix special on the figures?
No.
So there's a Netflix, the Toys That Made Us on Netflix.
Yes. Yeah, where it was like the LJNs and the He-Mans and the G.I. Joe. Yes.
Yeah. So on the wrestling one, they were saying they got the names and they got the faces, and then they just put them into what they thought were wrestling poses.
Right. Yeah. If you look, like I remember teasing, I joked with Edge one day because he is the biggest Hulk Hogan fan ever. And Christian and I would get yelled at by Edge as kids if we scuffed his LJN Hulk Hogan.
Oh, so that was the easiest one to scuff.
Yeah. He's like, "Quit it. You guys are playing one too rough. You're going to scuff Hulk Hogan." And we get so upset. Me and Christian would just kind of giggle and whatever. And when Adam would walk into the other room, we would just we beat the shit out of Hulk Hogan and all this stuff. But anyway, so I told him one day, I said, "Hey, I'm going to get you upset here. Watch this." He goes, "What?" I go, "Go look in your old LJN box and go look at Hulk Hogan's fists." And he's like, "Well, why?" And I go, "Just do it. You'll know." And so he comes back totally pissed off. He's like, "Son of a bitch," and all this stuff because a true fighter knows how to make a real fist, not an actor fist where your thumb is up on this, like thumbs in, thumbs. Every red-blooded man knows thumbs in on a fist, and whoever
you can put your thumb out, it's probably gonna break when you.
So ridiculous.
It's if you punch with your thumb out like that. Where's my camera? There we go. You're gonna break your thumb. First punch.
The actor punch, the David Caruso special.
You're absolutely, like, I grew up in the city, so I've thrown a couple.
Right. When you look at some, half of them have their thumbs out, and they're just in these weird poses, and whoever sculpted a lot of those old school LJNs didn't know much about wrestling. Like how even just if you look at some of their knee pads or some of their boots, it looks like kind of like Spaceman or something. That just doesn't look right. And so weirdly, I get the silly compliment of like, "Man, your stuff looks better than a lot of the old school." A lot of the old school ones, they speak to me out of nostalgia, but when you really look at them, they weren't overly well done. So I don't know that my bar is set. So my bar is set not too high because the original ones were not so amazing. They're just your childhood. So you look at all these fancy toys these days, like those Spawn toys and all these Rob Zombie toys, all these look so amazing. Whereas you look at the stuff that when we were kids, like they looked like little kindergarten-y ridiculous things that were so simplified compared to what they have now. But I want them to look detailed and fun, but at the same time have that LJN simplicity and so forth.
They come with 4 or 5 sets of hands. We were happy with Kung Fu Grip.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. Now,
how do you feel as I got excited for it, and I haven't bought the figure yet, but I'm going to. But as a customizer, as someone who takes some of the old LJN figures and probably made some of them into some of the newer wrestlers of today, I'm sure.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the Cody Rhodes LJN?
I haven't seen it up close. I'd like to hold my opinion until I actually see them, where I can actually like hold it and process it. The pictures of it look fine. They look neat or whatever. I think maybe some of them. I just saw the Cody one. I didn't see any of the other ones, but I just saw a picture of it. I didn't hold it or see it. I don't know if the size thing is correct. Like when they made those WCW ones, and they were just a little bit smaller than the LJNs. Right. They look kind of like not as cool, but just because the size is wonky. So I don't know if the size is right. I have to kind of see it with my own eyes, and I think it almost looks a little too pretty. It almost looks too perfect. Like where the LJNs were kind of simplified and kind of a little sloppier, for lack of a better term, and they had that Hulk Hogan rock and wrestling look as opposed to this really nifty, articulated, fancy, modern look. So
I destroyed one of our guests a couple of weeks ago. He was he's a tattoo artist out of New Jersey, Brett Steller.
All right.
And he has every LJN figure mint in box.
Okay.
He said he's awesome. One of about 3 or 4 that he knows of that has it. That has all of them mint in box. So I absolutely destroyed him when I told him there was a new one.
Well, I mean, I get technically,
right?
Yes. I mean, I don't know, but yeah. I don't know. Again, I have to see it. Like I don't want to poop on it. I don't know. I want it to be cool. It's like when I go to a movie, I don't want to go there just to shit on it. I want to enjoy it. When I watch a wrestling show, I want to enjoy it. I'm not that. He didn't put his elbows correctly the way he did his suplex, or you're watching a movie and I want to enjoy the movie. I don't want to hear, well, Peter Parker's his web shooters were out of his wrist. It was supposed to be a machine. Just enjoy the freaking movie. The same as the wrestling match. Like you like it,
Oh my God. You just nailed that too. I don't think there's any two groups that are more critical than the internet wrestling community and the Marvel movie universe.
I'll tell you something right now that will get me so much hatred from the term smart mark, which makes me giggle. I personally, I don't think they exist. I think there's people that love wrestling and people have opinions, and I'm happy for both. But I think if you haven't been in the ring, you're just guessing. You have no idea what the wrestlers are going through. So it's just simple to get. Again, I've been on set. I've done stunts for movies. I've done little bit roles in movies, but I don't know what it takes to put a movie on A to Z and produce it and finance it and all these things. So it's very easy to go, I didn't like Spider-Man. I didn't like Star Wars. I didn't like this. I didn't like that. Or I didn't like WrestleMania. I didn't like SummerSlam. Or I didn't like Rampage. Or I didn't like Dark or whatever, Impact or whatever the heck is going on. Just realizing these guys and girls are busting their asses.
Right.
Swimming like salmon upstream to make people happy and to do terrible things to their body, even in the realm of, scripted sports entertainment, whatever they think it is, which is not necessarily scripted. It's such overly simplified way to think about it. But there's so many fans, like, I'm not a Justin Timberlake guy, but I've seen fans go, I hate Justin Timberlake. Why do you hate? That's a strong word. Like, do you not realize he probably spent a lot of time honing his craft and, networking and everything you need to do to become a success. So when you see wrestlers, guys, girls, whatever, realizing what did they go through? What did they put their bodies through? What did they put their families through? What did they do? And people, it was their choice. Yeah. But still, like, it's kind of like, what did you do?
Right. You went to the show and you brought a notebook and critiqued it and gave matches 4 stars.
It's funny. It's like the ending of that Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Like those fans that are saying stupid, crappy, mean stuff online would be knocking their knees, shivering to get your autograph in an airport. It's the same. And again, I'm going to spur, I'm sure, so much hatred about saying that. But for the people who love wrestling and just love being entertained, I'm super respectful. For the people that just want to poop on it because they got nothing better to do, or maybe they're not happy with themselves, 2 words for you.
Here's the thing is, I'm not at all trained. I'm not a pro wrestler. I've sat in because I was hanging out at the schools with some of the trainers. I've sat in on some training sessions. I don't know shit in the ring.
Sure. Well,
I'm not smart.
Let me put it to you like this. Whether you're a fan watching, or you're an armchair quarterback watching, or you're an aspiring wrestler watching, or you're an advanced wrestler watching, or a writer or a producer or a promoter watching, you can see it on TV or at a live event. You can hear it on TV or at a live event. You cannot feel it. So you don't know what hurts, what doesn't hurt, what's easy, what's not easy. And some stuff that looks easy really sucks to do. And some stuff that looks like it really sucks is really easy to do. And that comboed with dealing with the politics of shark-infested water, these shows backstage, and other ideas and nepotism and friends and rivalries and this and that aren't even storylines. These are just the real life cattiness of, any, music, acting, sports, whether it's wrestling or baseball, football, whatever. There's going to be politicking and there's going to be shenanigans and all this stuff. So people are just so unaware, and they hear the little dirt sheet rumors, which is just, it just scratches the surface. So you just don't know what those guys and girls are going through to entertain you.
Now we jump around a little bit. Bobby D on Facebook wants to know, who's your favorite band? Because we were talking about the music, and also who's your favorite wrestler to wrestle? Like, what's been your favorite match? I guess.
Okay, so first, favorite musical band. I go through different moods, but if I really had to go pound for pound, I'm going to say Twisted Sister.
Nice, nice.
Because I definitely don't want to take it.
It doesn't get much more 80s than that.
Right. And
I love it.
Yeah, my guilty pleasure is glam rock and Southern. Like I'm a Skinner, Journey, Bad Company kind of guy, but I'm also what they say, like leaping big buildings with a single bound, stronger than a locomotive. I'm stronger than a Steelheart ballad. I'm a Steelheart, Twisted Sister, Skid Row, Motley Crue, all that kind of stuff.
I got into all of that. Like I got into, I was a hip hop kid. I grew up in Boston. Like listening to rap, that was my thing.
I was like, I liked like Run DMC and LL Cool J, and NWA, and that kind of stuff.
Yes, that was it. And but Twisted Sister, when they came out, I wasn't into like hair bands, metal, anything rock at all. They were just different, and I enjoyed it. And I liked their songs. I think it was because it was like half laughing at them, but then it was like you listen to them and it's like, yeah, man.
Well, it was again like the Billy the Kid Young Guns reference to me was like awesome cheese. Like it was cheese, yet delicious, wicked, awesome cheese.
Yes.
So weirdly, as far as like an influence, even visually, because I'm such an artsy fartsy guy, so I think very visually. If you look at Dee Snider on the Stay Hungry album, Sister, that comboed with like Rip Rogers and Vince Neil and stuff, Freebirds. That's the Kizarney right there. The big red coat, the blonde hair, and the eyeliner. That was the Kizarney look. Was the Stay Hungry Dee Snider.
Okay.
Have you guys
I would never have seen that before, and I do now.
Yeah, Dee Snider meets Green Goblin, and then there's sort of early Kizarney, early Sinn Boddhi.
Now, you didn't always do the face paint, right?
No, I've done like different versions, some more, some less, sometimes not at all. It just depends. But it was face painting, just like, Bret Hart would say that he wore the sunglasses in his promos because he was maybe shy and it was a nice place to hide behind the glasses.
Okay.
The face paint is kind of the same. It's sort of a mask. Like it really, you kind of don a new skin, and you can get away with saying a lot more with clown paint than you can without clown paint. And it's again, for the character stuff, it's more Bruce Wayne than it is Joker. Like you see clown, you think Joker or Spalding or whatever, but really it's more the Batman thing for me. Like Bruce Wayne can kick ass, but he's scarier to the villains when he's in his cowl. So like, yes, I'm a legit circus strongman. I was a bar fighter, a bouncer, a bodyguard, all this stuff. I was a tournament fighter, blah, 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 blah. But with the face paint on, it just makes it look a little gnarlier. It's my cowl.
Doing the clown stuff and like the version of the clown stuff you were doing, did you ever get to work with like the Juggalos? With ICP?
We've known each other for 100 years, ever since TNA, way back in the day, like when it was like TNA, like those weekly pay-per-views.
Yes.
Back then, we've always been cool. And then every time we ever tried to, they wanted to have Freaks of Wrestling at the Gathering a couple times, and it never, for whatever reason, sometimes it was a budget thing, sometimes it was a schedule thing, nothing ever worked out. And in all those years that I've known them, finally, I want to say it was a couple months ago now. My timeline's not that great, but I want to say about 2 months ago-ish, I was a surprise match on one of the Juggalo shows up in Detroit. I literally flew up on a Wednesday, was home by a Thursday.
So I used to be a juggler. I still appreciate them. Like you said, it's like the art of what they do and the visual aspect of it as much as it was the music, like the Fago flying, all the stuff going on, the zombies walking around in the background at all their shows, the fact that they had the balls to literally invite the fans onto the stage.
Sure.
What was it like working in Detroit with them? Because that's their hometown.
Right. The lion's den, so to speak.
Yeah.
So back in the day when I was first cutting my teeth, like as a green wrestler, turn of the century, 99, 2000, 2001, I spent a lot of time in Detroit wrestling with Huck, underneath Huck's show.
Okay.
Insane Championship Wrestling.
Yes.
And so I met a lot of different guys there, you know, from CM Punk to Colt Cabana, the Necro Butcher to, you know, Pondo and all those guys. So I cut my teeth in a very, very bloody, hardcore city. So coming back, I mean, I've wrestled off and on for, like, I used to wrestle for Scott Moore, who's one of the Impact guys. Right. I wrestled for him in Detroit. I wrestled on 8 Mile so many times and all this kind of stuff. So I'm no stranger to the D. I just haven't been there in quite a while, and finally got to go back up a couple months ago. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would think that, like, as a performer, whether you're into like the Insane Clown Posse or not, I would think that performing in front of their crowd would be something like special, because they get so into it. Like there was a referee from this area, and he showed up at one of their shows, and you know somebody brought him in or whatever. And he thought he was going to ref. They threw him in a pair of cut-off jorts, and he was Backwoods Billy.
Right.
And the fans were chanting for Backwoods Billy. They had no idea who he was. That was a character that was made up 10 minutes before the show.
Sure. And those, you know, fans, you know, especially the fans like that, they want to go and they want to let it all out. They want to bark at the moon. They want to shout it out. You know, they want to shout at the devil. They want to do all that stuff. And they want to enjoy. They want to just exhaust their energy. And so that's a wonderful kind of crowd to work in front of. And some crowds, you have to earn it a lot more, or it's harder get. You can get it, no problem. Like if you have any kind of skills and every creativity and you got some balls, you can get it done. See, my chicken agrees. You know, but I always giggle when I hear, you know, when wrestlers will do shows, you know, maybe like at a convention or at a ball game or something. And they'll you know, they'll be met with crickets, and then they'll squawk it as like it's the fans' fault. Like, well, it's not a wrestling crowd. And I would just giggle. I'm like, so they're humans, aren't they? Go entertain them. It's your job to figure out how to entertain them. Like, if your Hurricane Rana isn't getting it done, do something else. If your dive isn't getting it done, do something else. If whatever it is you're doing isn't getting it done, do something else. Like switch gears, learn how to work. You know, learn how to put that crowd. The crowd isn't sitting in those seats. The crowd, the camera right there. The crowd is right there. If you're a good wrestler, that's where the crowd is. That's where they're sitting in the palm of your hand. You're putting them there. They want to be put there, or else they wouldn't have bought a freaking ticket to go.
Right. I think that's the difference. But what you just said, that's the difference sort of between a wrestler and a worker too.
Right.
And you need both.
You know, different words morph over the years. Like some words meant something drastically different 50 years ago than they do now. You know, nowadays they throw around the word worker. There's a lot of wonderful, I see Harvey Snoops again, he agrees. There's a lot of wonderful athletes. There's a lot of wonderful sports entertainers. There's a lot of wonderful high flyers, a lot of wonderful good guys or bad guys, or whatever you want to say. Not a lot of workers. So that's not an insult. That's not a dig. Right. That's not some kind of passive aggressive. What does he mean by that? I mean it exactly what I say. You know, like I would joke if you've ever seen Chasing Amy.
Oh yeah.
Old school movie. So some of the younger guys that don't have to see the movie, I'll explain it. It's a comic book thing, and there's a scene in the movie where they're arguing over. So the one guy pencils, he draws the comic books, and then the other guy inks over the pencils, and he's the inker.
He's a tracer.
So, yeah, this other guy comes along and goes, "Oh, so you're a tracer?" He goes, "No, I'm an inker." He goes, "But you didn't draw it, right?" He goes, "No, I inked over the drawing." He goes, "So you're a tracer?" So I would joke and say, "I am a penciler, not an inker. I can work. I don't need to memorize. I can feel." And you know, at times for safety or for maybe economy of time or something to get everything right, or to make sure some certain dominoes fall where they may on purpose. You know, you memorize certain things, but for the most part, you should be able to work. Like, what if you need to go short? What if you need to go long? Oh, so-and-so's broken down and they're not here. Can you wrestle for another 10 minutes? Yes, I can. Can you wrestle for another 60 minutes? Yes, I can. Or that's very intimidating and scary to a lot of younger wrestlers, not because they can't, They just haven't been taught that
Right.
lost art way of
Walk and talk.
business, whatever. Yes, that whole Memphis walk and talk style, or just working is just the simplest way to say it. It's a very, very, very lost art. And then you would get guys who would hear me say that would listen to this and go, "Oh, what does he know? What has he ever done?" I'm a walking hard drive with Jake the Snake's knowledge. I have been in the ring. I'm in that unicorn age bracket where I've wrestled damn near everybody in the 80s, but I'm young enough where I can wrestle with all the youngsters in the now. So I'm happy. I'm not an old, grumpy, jaded guy, but I don't like this high spot. I don't like these high flying. I like all the cool moves. I just want to see it come together with the right work rate, with the right stories to get the right mileage to generate the right emotional satisfaction from the audience.
When people say, "Where have you been?" or "What have you done?" and question you like that, like it's one thing if it's a student going into your school. One, they should know where you've been, but they should question it as well and say, "Hey, what have you done?" to make sure it's the right school. But if it's just someone random, when you're giving someone advice and they're stopping like that, ask them what their day job is.
Right. And well, that's the thing. It's like, so again, I'm not a better human than anybody that's a wrestling fan. I'm as much a wrestling fan as anybody. But it's just, I think it's a very obtuse way to think. Like, I hate Robert De Niro. Oh yeah, well, he might not be your favorite actor, but realize he put his time and he really learned how to do this thing, or this guy, or this musician, or this athlete, or this whoever, or whatever. They probably put their time in the way you put your time in doing whatever it is that you are on the planet. Whether you're a lawyer, a forklift driver, or a waitress, or a stay-at-home mom, or a stay-at-home dad, or a this or a that, whatever you did to become who you are. Imagine how many hoops you jump through. Same thing for those wrestlers. Same thing for those rock stars, athletes, actors, whatever. So it's and I think you don't have, like, if I was to be like, "Hey, you crappy forklift rider," or "Hey, you crappy accountant, you idiot accountant," what do you know? Like, that would sound pretty damn rude. So I think a lot of fans, when they're online running their yaps, don't realize, of course, performers have thick skin, so they're going to get used to idiotic opinions. But those fans or humans should just kind of maybe realize, those people have emotions too. Like, did you hurt so-and-so's feelings if they ever even saw it in the first place, And the argument will be, well, if they don't want to be entertainers and be under scrutiny, then they shouldn't be entertainers. So that's fine. We all have thick skin. You can scrutinize accordingly. But I think out of I may be talking about manners is maybe where I'm getting at. Like, if I didn't like your shirt, I don't necessarily need to go, "Oh, I don't like your stupid shirt." I just might not say anything about it or whatever.
I like your shirt, by the way. Do you have a promo code for them?
I certainly do. If you if you go to the Collar and Elbow site and you type in Sinn Boddhi, we'll take care of you.
I will put that in our show notes, so that'll go out.
Yeah, check with Collar and Elbow. I've got very good standing with Al Snow and Collar and Elbow, and also Pro Wrestling Tees, / Sinn Boddhi, all that crazy stuff. Well, so all those companies, both Pro Wrestling Tees and Collar and Elbow, are wonderful companies, and they do a lot of great things for charity stuff. Like, when they sell those Shad Gaspar shirts or Bobby, whatever, like that money goes to those families. So that's a pretty awesome thing. Like Al Snow or Ryan and so forth from Pro Wrestling, they don't have to do that. They do that to be just humans, So
right, and both of those companies sell enough shirts without doing that. So
right, for sure. Like they wonderful people, wonderful companies.
Now, I have a selfish question. Actually, I have two selfish questions. The first one, and they're not really wrestling related, I guess, sort of, but do you have a figure that you customize that you're most proud of?
Oh boy. Yeah,
I love figures. If you can't tell, like especially those LJNs. So that's.
I have a lot. So I'm going to move the camera. I just finished. I was a couple weeks ago. I made the Ricky Steamboat from. It was actually from a match that I saw as a kid. It was it's called the Big Event. It was when Hulk Hogan, get clobbered from behind by Paul Orndorff and the Machines.
Right.
And the Machines wrestled Bundy and Stud and Heenan, and so it was the match where Ricky Steamboat had his dragon, his little alligator there.
Yes.
And Jake had his snake, and so I customized the Ricky Steamboat from that thing, and the Jake from my favorite Jake match, the Steamboat from my favorite Jake and Steamboat match.
That is awesome.
The Steamboat from that match from when I was a kid at the Big Event in Ontario, and then the.
Oh, you were actually there, huh?
Yeah, I was there.
Because
Yeah,
that was a great show.
We were there as little kids, little teeny boppers. And then the Jake one that I made has the red tights that said DDT down the side when he wrestled Macho Man on on Saturday's main event. And to me, that's, if I had to pick a favorite match, so I think you asked me that earlier, and I don't think I answered it. I'd have to say my favorite match to watch, probably if I had to pick one, would be Jake versus Macho Man, in that when it was, you never saw good guys fight good guys or bad guys fight bad guys. It was just such a way out left field booking at the time. Like, my brain was blown as a kid. I'm like, what's going on? And they're both bad guys. What's going to happen? The fabric of time is going to rip. It's going to be crazy. And I remember Jesse the Body on commentary painting a wonderful story, saying, I can't remember if it was like Gorilla Monsoon or Vince, whoever it was, might have been Gorilla, who was calling with him. And he said, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out and see which way the crowd favors, because both of these guys are notorious rule breakers. That's how he put it over. And my brain was, I bit hook, line, and sinker. I'm like, yeah, I got to see him. So Jake sort of ended up taking the baby position and Macho took the heel position, and it was an amazing match. So long story short, Jake's wearing those tights on this little toy from that match.
That's awesome.
And
no, what about
different reasons? They're over on the shelf where I would show you them, but I mean, I made this little Django. He's just sitting on my desk, so
my God,
put him up. I can't see. There it is.
That is, no, I don't have the eye to look at one figure and see a different figure, so that's something special. And that Papa Shango is amazing. You put most of them on your Instagram, right?
Yeah. If you want to see any of that stuff, you can see it on my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram. So what I would do is sometimes I would hand sculpt certain things. Sometimes I would get 3D printed heads. Sometimes I would enlarge some of those Hasbro heads. You can use different kind of chemicals to make a larger mold and whatever. This guy specifically his head is a Hasbro enlarged head. So I enlarged it with chemicals and whatever, and molded it. The body is actually not an LJN. The upper body is from a vinyl Andre the Giant kind of superhero figure.
Okay.
And the legs are from this same Hulk Hogan, this old school Hulk Hogan, who's a pretty. So the legs are the same as those legs. So there's my little nerdy toy sidebar.
Oh, that is so. Now, the other two things I have to do is we give away a figure every week. We're giving away. I'm a football fan. I'm in New England. I don't necessarily care for this guy anymore, but football season's coming up, so we're going to give away the Rob Gronkowski Elite figure because I thought it was fitting. I just got to spin a wheel real quick. I'm going to bring that up on the screen right now. If you don't mind, it just takes us a minute.
Sure. Yeah, just making some of these different toys, for whatever reason, whoever amused me or whatever as a kid, and this and that. So certain things.
Yeah, there's a few characters. I've seen a few people do it at your level, and there's not a lot that can customize them at that level. It's you. And there's another. He was a wrestler. He's sort of retired now. He was out of Boston, but he moved up to the Northwest area. Dave Cole, that he does the Funko Pops.
Oh, gotcha.
And
so I've seen some really great some other customizers that are really great, and we kind of sort of buddied up during the pandemic and stuff, and traded ideas, and we're kind of like little kids just nerding out over these toys, and this and that. A couple of guys were very giving as far as little advice, little tips, and little do's and don'ts and so forth. And I keep up with those guys to this day, and they're all great guys. And it's a fun little weird, we're all like giant little kids. Like I joke and say I have a PhD in recess. Like I'm a professional giant child. That's what I am.
But so, you make a living at it. Sorry. The three Irish boys, the Irish Whip Twitter actually won the raffle. So I'm just going to shuffle and spin again real quick.
Fair enough.
Can't have that. We got to give this figure away.
Weirdly, so I mean, I don't know. Weirdly, I don't know disrespect to him. I made him because I like the character, but I made a Bastion Booger, which everybody seemed to lose their mind up. So I have so many pre-orders to make new Bastion Boogers for everybody. And then last week it was a really cool day where I put out I made a Shockmaster, and I think it turned out pretty damn well. And a couple people were sort of were polite to how it looked, but mean as far as the actual dude. He's like, well, he never looked that good. And I mean, I did big arms and all this, like big muscular arms, this and that. And I said, looking good, making other wrestlers look good is what I do. That's, a sign to be a worker. I was just kind of being tongue in cheek. And the cool thing, I'll show you, he's right here. I can grab it for you.
Red Star Dragon, you were really close, but it went to DJ Robbins 7.
So I made this guy. I made this Shockmaster here.
That is.
I keep on moving the wrong way on the cameras there. There you go.
That is crazy.
And so he is 100% hand sculpted. And besides the Star Wars helmet that I built.
Yeah.
The cool thing about it was the other day, last week or so, when I posted it, the first person to send me a really, really sweet message saying how much he liked it was the real Shockmaster, was Fred Ottman. So that tugboat typhoon. So that was really, he's like, man, he goes, that's really great. And I hope you have a wonderful day. It looks great. Da, da, da. He's just a really sweet, nice man. So again, awesome. We can, talking about, people can make fun of certain wrestlers if they want to make fun of whoever, or I don't like this guy, or I don't like that guy, I don't like Kizarney, I don't like him, I don't like this, I don't like Shockmaster. You realize how hard these guys work, or, dumb shit can happen, and that's that. And then you get, kind of, you got to carry it around, but he's such a great dude that it's a piss off to see. Like for me, I got thick skin. I'm more vicariously upset when they're meaner to other guys that I like or respect and whatever.
That's right. Yeah, I'm more likely to stick up for a friend than I am for myself.
Yeah, like again, I've got thick skin. I'm really not worried about it. I'm not worried about smartmark73@hotmail.com busting my balls. But I don't mind firing back when it comes to one of my brothers or something like that. That's cool, and that's sort of the advantage I think you have too. You talked about how, like, being your age and being a wrestler, you've got to work with a lot of these guys. So now you're customizing these figures, and you're able to show them. Yeah, half of these guys have been in the ring with. It's surreal. Even when I was doing it, let alone when I look back on it, like standing across from Road Warriors or Rock and Roll Express or Steiner Brothers or Kamala or King Kong Bundy or Jake the Snake or you name it, all these guys, when you're in the ring standing across from those guys, I don't know about anybody else, but what was going through my head was like, what the hell am I doing with my life? This is crazy awesome. Like these are some wild Samoans standing across from me. What am I thinking?
That's,
some.
You would fit right in with that. I could see you fitting right in with them though.
Well, I came up with I really cut my teeth on a lot of, off of the Wild Samoan show. I wrestled just about every famous Samoan you could think. I never wrestled The Rock, but just about all the other ones, just about.
Now, do you have, because I know you wrestle a lot of the young guys too around, when you're traveling around. Do you have, is there somebody that should be on everybody's radar that you don't feel like is?
Over the years, I've seen a ton of woulda, shoulda, coulda guys that had the skills, guys that had the brains, creativity, and just for whatever reason, life and happenstance was not on their side. Dude, there's so many of those guys that could hang with anybody on TV that never got to TV, and the wrestling universe will never get the pleasure of watching them because they just happenstance just did them wrong.
I have
at the wrong time. They got somebody pregnant, or they were. Somebody just rubbed somebody the wrong way, and they just got screwed before they ever got any momentum or anything like that. But as far as I will definitely favor one of my students that's coming up. So again, super proud of Zoe Stark, Karrion Kross. These are some of the kids that came out of my school. Super proud of them. And there's just so many. There's Chris Bay. There's so many of these guys and girls that I'm so damn proud of. But to answer your question, one of the kids that I think is, so I have a bunch of them, but the one that right at the front, the one that I think is closest to getting it done is Matt Vandegrift.
Okay.
He can fly like he doesn't pay attention to gravity, but he can work. He can work off the fly. He can memorize. He can be a good guy, a bad guy. He's big enough that he can hang with a heavyweight, but he flies like a cruiserweight. He, I can't tell you enough great things about him. And I'll actually be wrestling him in Vegas tomorrow at Future Stars of Wrestling. So you guys go check out Future Stars or FSWnetwork.com, I believe.
What else do you have coming up for shows and seminars and things like that?
Yeah, I do a lot of seminars all over. I teach at the FSW, which we affectionately refer to as the Snake Pit still. But once we merged FSW and Snake Pit, for business purposes, it's FSW, but we affectionately call the student ring, like the training ring, the Snake Pit. I do my Facebook Live sometimes from there.
Okay.
But yeah, when I travel, I'll do seminars. I'll wrestle, do seminars, and but yeah, tomorrow I'm looking forward to dancing with my kid.
That is cool. We'd love to have them on. If any of your students, if you want to get them onto a podcast, just let us know. The door's open.
I'm sure I can make that happen.
And we're easy. We don't. We go out of our way not to look for like trouble. You know what I mean? I think me and Joe, the other kid I've done it with, I think we found enough trouble in our lifetimes where we go out of our way when we do this to not look for it.
Sure.
And just have fun, like shit,
Well, so right there. So like, yes, there's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of stuff you do not see. Like so much stuff happens behind the scenes, and like wrestlers will joke and say, hey, to any promoter in the world, wrestle for free. You're just paying for the other 23 and a half hours of the day. You're paying for the travel. You're paying for the dieting. You're paying for the weightlifting. You're paying for the fancy costumes, all that stuff. But the actual match, that's on the house because we love this shit. So, love of the game is as cheesy as it sounds. Smiles on faces. That's the name of the game. If it's selling tickets, making people hoot and holler, and keeping the wrestlers safe, it's correct.
My buddy Anthony Green, I think you might have wrestled him at one of the Vegas shows he did.
Yeah.
He just posted something very similar because, he just had he's open for bookings now after his release, and he was posted a picture on his plan on the picture on the plan said, "I wrestle for free. This is what I get paid for."
Yep.
That's
sort of an inside gag for the wrestlers for years and years.
That's very true. And when you think about it, that's probably the best part of your day on some days is being in the ring. Now, listen, I want to say thank you to you. Before we put your stuff out there, because I do want that to go out last, I just want to tell people because, and this is I don't want to take everybody down, so I'm not going to, but, Daphne, who I know you were friends with, passed away last night, and our sympathies, first of all.
Thank you.
Second of all, if any of you that are listening to this feel like you have nobody you can talk to, our DMs are open. If you hit us up and say, I'm having a bad day, I'm thinking about hurting myself, chances are I'm going to reply and say, here's my phone number, give me a call. That's how I am. There's other ways.
Sure, absolutely. And you never know what people are going through. I'm certainly no expert, but I've had friends, prematurely leave the planet, of their own choice.
Yeah.
Those people every day, like they haunt you, and I've got one special good friend to this day. I kicked myself going, I was so close to him. How did I not see that coming?
Right.
And so I will swing this back into a positive very quickly. I promise. I'm a nice guy. I like to be nice. I enjoy to be nice. It is my mandate to put smiles on faces. That's my job. That's my privilege. So today I had posted a rest in peace Daphne thing. And of course it was just, one troll. Like so many nice people saying, I'm sorry, I hope you're okay. I hope your family's, hope her family's okay. I hope everything, all the things that nice humans should say. And one idiot troll just put something so crappy. And for a split second, I knew exactly what, trolls are being trolled. I know what they're
right.
doing forever. So they're not going to rent space in my head. And they were quickly forgotten, just a quick block. And that was that. But I just thought, again, wouldn't hurt a fly. Super, super nice. Man, for about 30 seconds of my life earlier today, I fantasized about just reaching through the internet and, doing some unspeakable things.
My instinct would be to post my address.
Right. Yeah, I'll fly you up. Sign a waiver. I'll fly you up. Meet you in any alley you want. And so again, quickly, 30 seconds of morbid fantasy, and then that was out, and then it was back to being positive and moving forward. So wherever Daphne is right now, I hope, and I know that she is, playing cards with Owen Hart and Macho Man and Pop Orndorff and Bobby. They're all playing cards, cutting up in a cosmic locker room somewhere. And so anybody that would think to get some trollish rise out of the misfortune of another person, they have to live with themselves. I block that person, and that's that. I'm done with that person, but that person has to live with themselves forever.
Right.
So and the only reason I bring it up is just to let other people know, hey, if they get met with some really shitty negativity, shrug it off, because that person wants you to be miserable. If you let them, if you fall for it, then you're playing right into their trap. So just, going gets tough, the tough gets going. And if you need help, of course, ask for help. Ask for a professional. Like I tell my brothers, hey, if you're sad, you need something, I'll call you and tell you a joke. I'm not going to know how to tell you the right things.
Right.
I'm not qualified, whatever, but I'll tell you a joke, or I'll listen to you. And if you want to cry on my shoulder, or if you want to, whatever,
that's about what I'm good for, is I can listen to you. I'll let you vent, and I can't give you advice because I'm not trained on that. But like you said, if I can put a smile on your face at the end of it.
I remember, and I'll bring this back to Jake the Snake, who, some people love him, some people think he's crazy, some people think this, some people think that. I've only ever seen the good side of Jake. He's always been nothing but a big brother to me.
Awesome.
So when I got divorced the first time, I was very upset. I was fully in control, but I was very upset, like stupidly, super duper upset. And I remember him just calling me every day. Are you okay? You need to hear a joke. Would you want me to fly in? We'll go get a bite to eat. Whatever. And he would dwell on the nicer side of things. But I remember him sort of kicking it off, saying, because he's seen his share of really horrible things. And I remember, and I'll never forget, I'll never not be grateful for him saying this. Like, I was so upset, and he just said, brother, you better not do anything stupid, because if you do, I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to follow you wherever you are. I'm going to bug the shit out of you every day. So just keep your shit together and prepare. And it struck me, like, as sad as I was, it struck me funny, and it struck me sweet. Like, it struck me like, he was saying something so powerful, but said it in such a playful way that it forced you to kind of giggle. Like I could do that to my kid when she's grumpy. I'll make funny faces until she smiles, and she gets so mad that I made her smile. It was kind of one of those moments. And he is definitely a good brother. And so, lean on people. Whoever's out there. I'm an expert in life, and at least enough to know, lean on people if you have to.
Now, Sinn, where can they find you on social media? Sinn Boddhi everywhere?
Yes, sir. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Sinn Boddhi, SINNBODHI. And on my YouTube page is Freak Show Wrestling. And there's other kind of offshoot ones that aren't mine, but my Freak Show Wrestling page on YouTube has like a sort of little cartoon eyeball, kind of an eyeball icon, so that's the right page.
Oh, I'll make sure those links go in the show notes as well. So when that goes out,
and there's a ton of promos, matches. There's those Syndiculous episodes, which again, something I made during the quarantine to A, amuse myself, and B, hopefully distract other people from being rats in cages while all the shenanigans is going on.
But Sinn, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time tonight. This was fun. Like I said, it was a sort of a revisiting. So I wanted to get, and I think we got most of your career from that point on. And it's been a fun trip, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you do. And like I said, our door is open to any of your students. So
thank you very much. Well, just shoot me a reminder, and I will definitely send some of them your way for sure. Awesome.
Thank you, Sinn.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a great day. And all y'all listening, I just want to sign off with this. This has sort of been my mantra ever since the, all the COVID lockdowns and stuff. Just take it for the simplicity of it. Be safe, be smart, be kind.
Thank you.